The Relationship Between Trump's Foreign Strategy and Lee Jae-myung Presidency. By Young-Soo Kenneth Park. President Donald Trump's approach to international relations can be summarized as America first and pragmatic diplomacy. In his view, international relations are based on a cost-benefit analysis, and traditional alliances are no exception. Will the Lee Jae-myung presidency in Korea and Trump's policy toward Korea collide or complement each other? 1. Trump's principles of non-intervention and violent retribution. A key tenet of Trump's international relations policy is non-intervention. This view suggests that, even if regional conflicts arise between countries, the USA will play a bystander role, believing that the exhaustion of the party's national resources will ultimately enhance global security in the long run. However, his second principle is that any direct harm or threats to the interests of the U.S. and special allies will be answered by a violent retribution. This was demonstrated by the U.S. naval and air force operations when Israel and allied commercial vessels were jeopardized by the Houthi rebel attacks. China is the most significant example of Trump's second principle. China not only openly challenges U.S. hegemony, but also disrupts international norms, such as its claims in the South China Sea, making it a primary target of U.S. containment. Having grown into the world's factory due to massive U.S. investment and decades of pro-China policy, China has become an economic and military challenger to the United States. 2. South Korea's strategic value and potential shift in the U.S. perspective. Here, South Korea's position becomes critically important. South Korea is almost the only country that can provide meaningful and substantial assistance to America in a potential armed conflict with China. In fact, without the cooperation of the South Korean shipbuilding industry, the U.S. Navy could soon fall behind the Chinese Navy in vessel numbers and firepower. The USA is a maritime nation located between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. If naval protection weakens, the security of the U.S. mainland could be directly threatened. While land borders are difficult to cross undetected, the sea allows for underwater access to the coast. America's geopolitical advantage, which historically fostered isolationism, has changed to a vulnerability. South Korea's strategic value in keeping the U.S. Navy strong and healthy can answer Trump's seemingly naive question. Why should we help defend South Korea? The fact is that South Korea's security isn't merely its defense issue, but a critical component of America's strategy against China, which he might come to realize. 3. Potential effects of Lee Jae-myung's election. Lee Jae-myung's election signals to the U.S. that if the Trump administration puts excessive pressure on South Korea, the South Korean public might opt for a pro-China stance. This is especially so given that Mr. Lee is known for his pro-China leanings, which the Korean public so far regarded as his weakness. This possibility of the Korean public leaning toward China, led by Mr. Lee away from Trump's containment strategy, could give him a balanced priority perception between an increased share of U.S. military base expenses and potential loss of an important ally. Furthermore, South Korea can independently contain North Korea and only needs to prevent the Chinese military intervention in the Korean peninsula through diplomatic means with China. Therefore, as the South Korean military's independent defense capabilities grow, so does the potential for China's appeasement and improved diplomatic engagement with South Korea. To prevent South Korea's closer diplomatic approach to China, Korea needs a stable and reliable U.S.-ROC alliance and increasing joint anti-China defense capabilities. This means an increase in the firepower and personnel of U.S. forces Korea, not the opposite. In other words, the more the USA proves to be a reliable partner in its strategy against China, the more South Korea will highly value the U.S. as an ally and avoid risky ventures like closer alignment with China. The benefit of a stronger alliance with Korea overwhelmingly exceeds the cost of it.